Hello and welcome to another episode of Hornets Daily, your one-stop shop for all things Charlotte Hornets. As always, we're presented by the good people over at FanArc, and I'm your host, Vance Ballard, but you know by now, you can call me VB. I want to thank everybody for joining along with us today, watching along out there. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment down in the comment section. We've got a question floating around for the chat from yesterday's show. Be sure to go back and check that out. Leave your answers down in the comment section. We're going to dive into that question a little bit more tomorrow on the program, flesh out the answers you guys have given, and go over that just a little bit more in detail. But today's show, Summer Lovin', is in full effect. We'll talk about Kemba Walker becoming a married man, just a chance to discuss my favorite and what I would imagine are other people's favorite Hornet of all time. We've got an update on the Josh Green injury, his recent shoulder surgery, his timetable for his return, and what impact that could have on his future with the organization. Speaking of the future, would the Hornets actually move on from someone who is considered a vital part of their future? The rumors about LaMelo Ball are swirling once again. The questions about his future are up in the air. We're going to discuss the latest news on that today as well. And then it's Thursday. As we know, we'll dive into our daily rumor mill check. It's hot, it's heavy. The rumor mill always provides. And the writers are at it again, pitching hypotheticals for the Charlotte Hornets. We'll talk about the most recent one that has come out. You know anything about us here on Hornets Daily, you know we don't do beating around the bush. We're head first type of people. We like to dive right into the program, and that's exactly what we're going to do here today. As I mentioned, Kemba Walker is a married man. He announced earlier this week that him and R&B singer Marissa have officially tied the knot. Congratulations to the former Hornet great Kemba Walker, as I mentioned, my favorite Hornet of all time. And as you can only imagine, he received ample amounts and abundance of love from around the league, former players, past members of his team, and even current NBA stars, all sending their love to the great Kemba Walker. Now, again, I'd mention that just because this is mainly an excuse for me just to talk about, reminisce, go down memory lane with my favorite Charlotte Hornet of all time. We all remember Kemba and his crossover leaving people in the dust, the ankles that were snatched by the cardiac Kemba. He was the franchise leader in minutes played, points, field goals made, and three pointers made. He's second all time in assists and third in steals. An absolute legend here in the Buzz City. Kemba managed to score a franchise high 60 in a game and then follow that up with 43 the very next outing. He was a superstar without question, the first actual franchise player for the Hornets. I know you may want to go all the way back to Alonzo Mourning or Larry Johnson. They didn't stick around through the yuck that Kimba did to really solidify their place as a franchise player. In my opinion, the way that Kimba Walker did, he was the first face of this franchise that I truly remember in my life, and he was incredibly impactful on the court. He made three All Star appearances while he was with Charlotte. Three of his four came in the Buzz City, and again, I don't really think there's much of an argument to be made about the impact that he had on this franchise, on this organization. And again, I think he was really the first true franchise player that the Hornets had, and Kimba, the memories, the excitement, the joy that Kimba Walker brought to the game of basketball is something that I will always hold near and dear to my heart. Happy to see him married off and living a good life as he continues to stick around. We know he's now Coach Kimba on the Hornets staff, and so that too will be beneficial to the young core as they continue to learn from the Hornets great and develop their games under his tutelage. Now, speaking of development, we're going to talk a little bit about Josh Green here today. We know that he has recently had a shoulder surgery just to kind of clean up some mess in there is kind of the way it's been described. Just a restructuring of things for Josh Green. It's come out now that his timetable has is a little different than maybe originally anticipated. It was reported yesterday that there is no timetable. Rod Boone of the Charlotte Observer put that out there. He said there is no exact timetable for Josh Green's return, but it does not seem likely that he's going to be ready to go full 100% healthy at the start of training camp. Now, this does a lot of things for both Josh Green and the Hornets. It poses a lot of questions, leaves a lot of things to wonder about. And it also, like I say, it puts the Hornets in a tight spot in terms of the roster size, the roster, not size, but the roster limit, as well as what to do with Josh Green. So they have a roster issue and a Green issue here with this news. It poses a lot of questions about the defensive end of the floor. We know that that's the main reason Josh Green was brought into this roster, was his ability to be that 3-and-D guy. Now, he didn't necessarily succeed at that last year. He struggled a little bit on defense, did shoot well from beyond the arc, but his defense wasn't quite where the Hornets wanted it to be, which is a whole nother subject. We were going back into this season looking for Green to take that next step, continue to develop on the defensive end, but now this timetable, him not being healthy, him not getting a full training camp under his belt, what's that going to do to his development, to his status here in Charlotte? It's it's a question for sure that lingers, and it feels like this may leave the Hornets in a position of being, for lack of a better term, just kind of stuck with Josh Green. Not a lot of value for an injured player who frankly has a lot of questions about his abilities in the first place. Green does still have some to offer, though. As I mentioned, he shot 38% from behind the three-point line last year, so he's still a quality shooter, and the ability to play defense is still in there. We've seen it in his time in Dallas. It's obvious that he has the ability. It's just going to be a matter of unlocking that and continuing to develop on the defensive end. So that too leaves some questions to wonder about what his status here is for the future. What's his value like on the trade market? Are the Hornets just going to have to kind of swallow his contract and just wait it out until he is healthy? Maybe try to move him during the regular season? I'm not sure. It's going to be interesting to see how the team handles this entire process as they move now forwards with Josh Green, someone who was definitely looked at as part of the as a trade value, as an asset to move along in what's going to be. We've talked about what we know is going to be the roster purge that has to come to get this thing down to 15 by the regular season. Josh Green absolutely was one of the pieces that could have been moved, still could be moved. Now it's just going to be a little more difficult with the injury timetable and his recovery still being such an uncertainty. It'll be interesting to watch how this situation unfolds. We'll have it all for you right here on Hornets Daily. You know, we bring you all the good updates as best as we can. Speaking of updates, let's talk now about a staple piece on this roster. LaMelo Ball, we know his value. We know what he brings to the team. It's just always a matter of, is he going to be available for the team? We know the injury questions. We know the history. We know the superstardom that is LaMelo Ball. But there's a lot being written right now about his future. As always, it's up in the air. Would the Charlotte Hornets actually move on from LaMelo Ball, though? There's multiple different reports swirling around right now. One talking about would they choose Brandon Miller or LaMelo Ball if put in that situation? Who is the guy they would pick to build around? A lot of writers seem to think that Miller would get the advantage there. LaMelo Ball, if the Hornets had to choose, it sounds like a lot of people think Ball would be on the way out and Miller would be the guy to build around here if that choice had to be made. Obviously, Charles Lee, Jeff Peterson, the rest of the front office are doing everything they can to avoid having to make that choice. They've done well so far in being able to keep LaMelo and Brandon Miller on the same team. There's some insiders writing as well that think the Hornets should and could just move LaMelo in general, either before or at the deadline. Tim McMahon went on Brian Windhorst's Hoop Collective podcast to discuss something kind of different, the Hornets' overall win projection, which we're going to talk about on tomorrow's program. It's been out for most of the week now. It is 24.5, the over-under for the win total for the Hornets. Again, we'll dive into that tomorrow, break that down a little bit, and I'll tell you what I think about that. Safe bet, by the way. I don't see this team not winning 25 games, but again, that's going to come on tomorrow's program. We'll talk a little bit about that. McMahon found himself inevitably discussing LaMelo Ball's future during his appearance on the Hoop Collective, and he said that there's a chance the Hornets start to shop the former Rookie of the Year if he can stay healthy and his production continues to rise the way it has. If he looks as good as he did last year and becomes a little bit more efficient, there is a chance, McMahon said, and he even sees some reasoning and some sense in the decision to make the move to start shopping LaMelo Ball at or before the deadline. This would lead to the him LaMelo staying healthy and him continuing to increase his productivity and become a more efficient player. As we know, that's been the bad label on him, is his inefficiency. If he can turn that up a little bit, it greatly increase his value, and Charlotte could potentially get quite a haul, something that could really improve their future and positively impact the long term here, which we know has been the main focus for the new regime coming in and taking over from a front office perspective. Anyway, it's been their goal. We've heard it preached ad nauseum over and over and over again about the long term, about the change of culture, moving a guy like LaMelo, while it would be very hard to let go of what is undeniably right now the face of the franchise, moving on from him and getting a haul that could potentially alter the future of this franchise is something you have to take into consideration. It's not necessarily something I would do. I think that especially for this season, for the short term, it's still important to keep a guy like LaMelo Ball on the roster, as we know he understands Charlotte a little bit. He knows the culture that's trying to be brought in. He can at least help from that regard. So I don't know that I'd be the one to move on from LaMelo this season, but if the assets coming back in return are worth it, it's definitely worth answering the phone, in my opinion. Again, we've heard the new regime clamor over and over again about how they want this to be a competitive organization. They want to change the culture, to change up people like Paul George, people like Tony Parker, who have such negative things to say about not being able to win here, not wanting to win, there being no desire to win here. We know that Lee, Charles Lee, Jeff Peterson, and company are working diligently to change that culture. Doing that may mean making some very tough decisions, such as moving on from a guy like LaMelo Ball. And that's going to be another thing to watch here as we get closer to the regular season, as we move into the regular season, and see how LaMelo is performing, if he's able to stay healthy and continue to increase his production and efficiency numbers. That could make it very difficult for the Hornets to make the decision on keeping or moving on from LaMelo Ball. And again, if they do have to move on from him, it's going to be tough. I'm not going to be a massive fan of it, but if the assets on the other end are right, then it is certainly something that we can deal with here as a fan base in Charlotte. If it means the team gets better for the future, I'm just not sure that a team without LaMelo Ball is getting better for the future. I know that some of you guys are going to disagree with me there. I've seen down in the comment section, I've seen in the chat, it's about, like I've said it on the show already before, it's about a 50-50 split for you either love or don't love LaMelo Ball. I'm in the camp of love LaMelo Ball. I think I understand his flaws and his criticisms, but he's exciting to watch. He's a great player, and now that he's got pieces around him, he can open up his passing ability a little bit more. And I think the shots that he finds for other people are going to start to fall this year, opposite of what they have done in the past. So I think personally keeping LaMelo around is a good idea. But if will they move on from him? That question is not for me to answer. That's still up in the air to be seen. It's just, again, some rumors floating around out there, much like the one we're going to talk about now. We'll dive into our Thursday rumor mill check. I know the LaMelo thing kind of qualifies, but this one's more specifically about trades. You know, we love talking trade rumors here on the program. And at the end of July like this, there is always some good stuff floating around out there. The take machine firing in full effect. The rumor mill provides on a daily basis. Today's interesting rumor trade out there is now that the Hornets should be making their move for Knicks big man Mitchell Robinson. So Thomas Gorski of Hornets SI is the latest on the list of writers and experts, insiders, whatever you want to call them, who thinks that the Hornets need to make a move on the inside. Again, something we have ranted about over and over again on the program. We have started to lean a little bit more here on Hornets Daily into the camp that there may not be a big splashy move made, and that Jeff Peterson, Charles Lee, and the rest of the organization are confident in the centers they have currently on the roster and are going to move forwards with those. That's the camp we've started. I have personally have started to lean towards here on Hornets Daily, but Gorski seems to feel a little bit differently. He says that Charlotte is loaded, quote, loaded with guards and wings. Nice to see some at least a few compliments being thrown around about some position groups within the Hornets, but he says that they lack stability on the inside. I don't think that's telling tales out of school or speaking crazy. I think that's pretty much assumed. We all kind of understand that. And that's normal going into a season with such a limited center position like the Hornets have. Again, Musa Debate, Ryan Kalkbrenner, Mason Plumlee, the only three true centers on the roster right now. We know what we're going to get from Plumlee. He's a veteran, not a splashy guy, but he is going to be able to at least give some minutes that matter here in Charlotte. Musa Debate, we've talked at length about him really all week, to be honest, and the questions surrounding him. Is he going to be able to take that next step? And then Kalkbrenner, the rookie, former fifth-year man out of Creighton. We know he can play on the defensive end, but he's still got a lot of development to do. He's got a lot to learn and a lot of things to pick up just from an NBA perspective on both ends of the floor, his offensive and defensive game. So I understand completely Gorski saying there is a lack of stability on the inside here in Charlotte. I don't think any of you guys would agree with me there or would disagree with me there either. Now, the hypothetical that Gorski has posed sees Charlotte reaching out to the Knicks and putting together a deal for Mitchell Robinson. The hypothetical package Gorski has thought up would include the aforementioned injured Josh Green. So Gorski, at least one writer out there, still thinks Green may have some value despite the shoulder issues and the timetable concerns. Again, the deal includes Josh Green and 1, 2, and up to even 3 future second round picks, Gorski said, just kind of throwing those in and stacking the number up until it reaches enough for the Knicks to say yes. Again, Gorski does not see too much concern with the Josh Green injury. He feels that despite that there is now no official timetable for his return, it's not too serious of an injury, and it still doesn't take away from the value that Josh Green has. Now, Robinson is on an expiring contract from the Knicks. He's set to make $12.9 million this year. So if they did want to unload that, that would be a little bit heavy on the Hornets side, but it is a reason for the Knicks to consider moving on from the big man. They've got Karl-Anthony Towns under a big contract, Jalen Brunson eating up a lot of money. So if they did need to clear some of that space, Mitchell Robinson could indeed be a guy to help them out there. And I think it's more than obvious the ways that he would help this Hornets franchise if that is something that they're able to make happen or a move that they even desire. To be honest, Robinson is a career average of almost 8 and 8. He's averaging 7.8 points per game as well as 7.8 rebounds per game. He's a monster of a human being, built like an absolute brick wall. He's 7 feet tall, something the Hornets desperately need on the inside, as Kalkbrenner is the tallest and only 7-footer on the roster. We know that size is certainly something that attributes to that quote-unquote lack of stability on the inside for the Hornets. So adding someone like Mitchell Robinson would go a long ways to changing that issue, to fixing that problem. Not only is he a big body, he knows how to use that big body on the inside to do what I've asked Ryan Kalkbrenner to do a few times in his summer league performances. Just take over the paint, make it yours. Don't let anybody else come down there. Mitchell Robinson is excellent at that, and he has been an anchor for the Knicks team on the inside, whether it be offensively or defensively. Robinson has been a key factor there as well. Most importantly, this move, or one like it, would give the aforementioned Kalkbrenner the time he needs in his rookie season to sit back and just watch and develop and learn how the NBA how that NBA game is different than what he experienced in the Big East at Creighton, he can understand, he can learn the offensive system a little more. He himself has talked about coming from having difficulties, not difficulties, but the challenges, the obstacles with coming out of the same offense for 5 years and having to relearn an entire new one, being thrust into the NBA with a move like adding Mitch Robinson that would again give Kalkbrenner the time to develop, to not have to be thrown into the fire, thrown to the wolves immediately, as it's shaping up. He may have to do right now. He might not be the starter on opening night, but there's no question that with just the three of the guys that I mentioned earlier, Moose, Plumlee, and Kalkbrenner, that Ryan is going to have to play very early and very often, with the addition of a Mitchell Robinson or even another big man. Going out to get someone like that would really do wonders for the young. I say young, but he's old compared to some guys. The young Ryan Kalkbrenner, as he could have his time to develop and not have to play so many impactful minutes for the Hornets this early in his career. Now, as I've mentioned several times today, it's the end of July. It's the dog days of summer. We're moving into August. Different things are swirling around every single day. It feels like whatever rumor you want to go find, you can look for and plug and play to find one. Whether it be making a move for a five, the Hornets deciding to stick it out and play with what they have, no one truly knows. But on Hornets Daily, we're going to make sure you're the first to find out. That's going to do it for today's show, folks. Thanks for watching along with us as always. If you haven't, smash that subscribe button. Leave a like and a comment down in the comment section. Give me some thoughts on what you guys think the Hornets are going to do in the future. Is the Mitchell Robinson move a good one? Is that hypothetical worth making? Is Josh Green and 3 or 4 second round picks too much of a haul? If the Knicks were to ask for a first round pick, I think that would be a little bit hefty, a little bit steep. But I want to know what you guys think as well. As always, thanks again for watching. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on another episode of Hornets Daily.